Good morning again. Hope you're doing well this morning. Wanted to share with you some thoughts. I have gotten to preach at the mission a couple of times to do a devotion for the men's life recovery, and then also to get to preach to the men's guest services guys this past Sunday. And I just felt led with the devotion and then kind of continue the topic with the guest services guys to look at the big picture. And we looked at 4 questions and answers to those 4 questions, and that's what we're going to look at this morning. The 4 questions are: why am I here? Who am I? What is the problem? What's the solution? And we're going to just tackle the first question today, and Lord willing, we'll go through a question a day, perhaps over the next 4 days, but I'm not going to make any promises because I'm not always good at making sure I get up at the sufficiently early time to have time to do this before I have to get ready and go to work. But the first question, why am I here? And I'm not going to so much deal with purpose yet, like what's our purpose, because I believe that fits in really well with who am I. So we're going to tackle that, Lord willing, perhaps tomorrow. But we're going to deal with origins. What is our origins, and for whom are we here? In the very first verse in the Bible, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And even if you removed created the heavens and the earth, in the beginning, God. That is a very worldview defining verse right there. That there is a God, that in the beginning it was God. God is the one who's doing these things. So why am I here? I'm here because of God. Everything is here because of God. God is at the center. To see more of that, if I look at Colossians chapter 1, verses 15 and 16, it says that Jesus is the image of the invisible God. All things were created through him and for him. So not only was everything created by God through Christ, but it's also created for God, for Christ. God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. But in that verse, it brings out how God's purpose centers around his Son, Christ. So everything is created through God, by God, and for God. And not only that, but Colossians 1 and Hebrews 1 both say that Jesus is presently upholding the universe. Colossians chapter 1 says he holds all things together. Hebrews chapter 1 says he upholds the universe by the word of his power. So this isn't deism, the deistic idea that God set things in motion and kind of step back, but that he's presently involved and interactive with his creation. That, as Acts chapter 17 says, in him we live and move and have our being. That's not to say that God, in a pantheistic way, is in everything, but that he permeates creation. He's omnipresent. And so why am I here? I'm here because God created everything, and he created everything for himself. As in Romans 11, it has a beautiful doxology. It says, for from him and through him and to him are all things. To him be glory forever and ever. Two things real quick. First, what if why should I believe that God created in addition to what the Bible says? Maybe if I'm, struggling with that. So I want to just give you 2 arguments for the existence of God, and seemingly pointing to his intelligent design of all things. First is called the Kalam cosmological argument. William Lane Craig has done a lot of work on this, popularizing it. And it essentially is two premises and a conclusion. The first premise is everything that begins to exist has a cause. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. We might put it colloquially in some sense. You can't get something from nothing. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. So anything that, there's really no simpler way to put that. So that's the first premise. The second premise is that the universe began to exist. So look at the Big Bang. Look at the radio. What is it? I think it's the microwave background radiation that you can look and you can see. The leftover of the creation event. The universe began to exist. That's a relatively uncontroversial, scientifically non-controversial statement. Therefore, the conclusion is the universe has a cause. So all that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist. The universe, therefore, the conclusion, has a cause. And that cause must be eternal and very, very powerful. Otherwise, you're in if what caused the universe isn't eternal, then you're just in this infinite regression, or at least a regression. Well, what caused that cause? What caused that cause? What caused that cause? But if there's one who is eternal, who is all powerful, powerful enough to bring into existence a universe with billions of galaxies and trillions of stars, that's the description of God, eternal and all powerful. So that's the first argument, the Kalam cosmological argument. We can look out and see the universe began to exist. The universe has a cause, and God is the most reasonable cause. Second argument is the argument from fine-tuning. And I'm not in this case talking about how amazingly designed our bodies or biological systems are, or even our planet or our solar system per se, but really talking about the whole laws of nature. The whole laws of nature. And in particular, there's constants that are kind of put in there to make the equations work. And you've got values for the strength of gravity. You've got values for other strengths of different forces. And it doesn't seem that these values are contingent. Like they don't have to be the value that they are. There's nothing that we know of that says they have to be the value that they are. And for a lot of these, if the value were very far off from what it is right now, these fundamental laws of the way things work, like the cosmological constant, the constant determining the rate of expansion of the universe, then things would have either expanded too quickly, and so nothing would form, or things would kind of collapse back on themselves, and so there wouldn't be any life. The fine-tuning really has to do with the values of these constants to allow a life-permitting universe. And so it seems, that this could not have come about by chance. The chance is not the most reasonable explanation. And as a result, there's actually many who are positing the multiverse, the idea that our universe is one of many universes, and essentially, if you have enough universes, you're going to hit the jackpot on those values taking on the right value. But that's more of a metaphysical hypothesis than it is a physical hypothesis, especially at this point. So is that the most reasonable explanation? I don't think so. Because it also begs the question, well, where did the multiverse come from? So there's no evidence for it, and it begs more questions, or it causes more questions than it answers. It's not a very good explanatory hypothesis. So if you don't already begin with the a priori hypothesis that God does not exist, God is the most reasonable explanation that an intelligent designer created this. And I want to just point this out, that this is not just because we don't understand certain things yet. It's not like, oh man, we just don't understand, and so we're just inserting God in where we don't understand things. That's the God of the gaps. No, it's that as we are understanding more and more, it's that there's evidence that's pointing to the need for an intelligent designer, a creator, to have created. It's that there's good evidence that's pointing in that direction. So that's the whole idea behind the Kalam cosmological argument, and then the fine-tuning argument. So those are just two arguments. So why is it important how we answer this question? Well, it really underlies the entire way that we look at the world and the universe. Does it have any ultimate meaning? Is it just that we're here for a certain period of time? And as I was reading from one particular person on Reddit, on a existentialism subreddit, that we move some molecules around and then that's essentially everything, but that's also meaningless. It doesn't have any ultimate purpose. Universe began, it's just slowly moving towards heat death. Everything's gonna ultimately become dispersed and there won't be any usable energy, and that's it. So ultimately any meaning that we have is we make up for ourselves. We just try to make up a meaning or a purpose, and live out our otherwise meaningless lives. So how we understand our origins has a lot to say about what is our purpose, which we're going to look at next time more. And does it have any meaning besides that which we just try to create for ourselves? And yet if God created us, there is a definite meaning. He created us for himself. And Romans 1 has something that's very interesting to say about this. It says, although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things. That's the tendency, is rather than submitting to, because that's one of the implications. If God created all of this, then he is our creator and we owe him obedience, we owe him allegiance. He's created it for him, not ultimately just for our own personal purposes and enjoyment. And he has created it for him, and so we have to submit to him. So it's wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It's wisdom to look at that and say, okay, God, as we're going to look at, who am I? What do you want from me? And so, yeah, we'll address that question next time. So love you guys, and hope you have a great day. Hope that will be encouraging to you.